It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 101, Ambassadors of Death.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, Toby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS would be free of the force field.
Well, the TARDIS is more than a machine. It's unity, but a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is Friday. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your tri-weekly classic Doctor Who review podcast. My name is Eric. I'm joined, as always, by the better half of this duo, Dan.
I'm not the better half. This is. I have this weird sense of deja vu, and I couldn't quite explain why.
Yeah, because we had a little bit of a problem. Well, we've complained about it before. Maybe we need to set up a Patreon just to try to get some new equipment. But in this case, it was completely human error.
Totally. Well,
yeah, Dan had forgotten to hit
over
record.
here. I had recorded it and then checked to make sure the recording sounded okay, and then forgot to hit record again.
Right.
So
and before that, we sat down and I put on my headphones. Were eaten by the dog, so I used my daughter's headphones, and they were like those Five Below pieces of crap headphones. The whole thing fell apart. So now I have a pile of broken.
You literally took it off your head, and the ear cups fell off. It was amazing. Just. Wow, single-use headphones. They're fantastic.
Such a good time. Such a good time. I mean, it's like, hey,
everything's great right now.
What could go? Hey guys, 2020. Am I right?
My goodness. Yeah. So just
speaking
a
of
quick
Doctor
thing.
Who.
Speaking of Doctor Who, you and I have been talking about how neither of us were really watching the current or most recent season of New Who.
Yeah, I did not have BBC America, and you had,
right.
if I'm correct, had seen at least 2 of the episodes of the new season and weren't a fan. Correct?
I was watching it as it aired, and on BBC America, it's like 5 minutes of show and 20 minutes of commercial, 5 minutes of show. It's impossible. And even when you can skip ahead, it's just super annoying to like skip, and then you have to go back because you went to. It's just I couldn't get into it. So for me, it felt like, well, the story wasn't holding my attention, and the commercials made it worse. So like I figured I'd wait until it became available to stream without commercials. And then Eric tells me what?
Yeah, it's on HBO Max, which was very nice.
Yeah. Very nice. So it has all of the New Who, including the most recent season now. And because of that, I started plowing through it. You said you started watching it. I got
So I had been waiting, and I think I
episodes
talked about. I never like to spend money, so I had been debating like, do I spend $30 on the new season? Because I like Doctor Who. I don't have BBC America.
Wait, you like Doctor Who?
It turns out I was a fan of Doctor Who.
Okay.
It's weird.
Cool.
That I actually feel like a great weight has been lifted off of me.
Now that you're talking
so people were telling me on Twitter, like, oh, you should it's pretty good to spend the $30. But anyway, I waited, and I kept checking HBO Max because they had all of the seasons, I guess whatever licensing deal they have with Comcast. Not Comcast, AT&T, or whoever multi-billion-dollar corporation is running that. They had everything but the new season, and just I think like a month ago, maybe or so, it popped up. So I watched the first episode, which I had kind of mixed feelings about. Overall, I liked it. I like James Bond, so there's a whole James Bond thing. This is the third time or fourth time I've told you this because I don't know which version
I'm going to pretend it's the
recording
first time.
Sometimes I find the script a little corny and a little cringy. Overall, I liked it. I'm looking forward to the second episode. You've watched a lot more, so let's hear what you think.
I watched a bit more, and the part that got me really excited is I kind of knew, because you can't avoid some of this stuff on Twitter, but I tried to avoid as much as possible. I knew that there was some big mythology building that was coming in this season, and I finally got to the beginnings of that, and I was very excited about it. I love what they're doing, and the person portraying the role, I think, does an excellent job. So it's a lot of fun. It has a callback.
It's a Gallifrey or Rassilon kind of that kind of stuff.
I'm not. I really do want you just to kind of see it. So I'm not going to say anything about it, except that their performance is great, and it has a kind of callback to earlier things in New Who, and maybe even before, but it has some callbacks that are interesting in terms of the way the plot mechanic works. So it was super fun. I was very excited about that. I know there's a whole bunch more coming up towards the end of the season, so I'm very excited to keep going through that.
Yeah, I like Jodie Whittaker's Doctor for the most part, but a lot of the time the stories are weak.
Yeah,
which I don't think is fair to her.
You have to listen to, like, right now. We should just stop the show.
Oh,
no, David Tennant's podcast.
Yes,
is very good, very, very good. But he had Jodie Whittaker on. I guess not. I don't know. I just started listening to him, so maybe it was a long time ago, and I just found it. But I would listen to that recently, and that's a lot of fun. And also, Jesus Christ, Donna Noble.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Sharon Tate, late
Sharon. Catherine Tate, Sharon Tate. Yeah, the late great Sharon Tate. That one was also incredible. But anyway, David Tennant is a very, very good interviewer. Highly.
Now I got to check it out. I mean, I remember when that
stop
launched.
Listening to our podcast and just listen to that instead. It's much better than this.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll have him on. How's that for a sweet week?
That is likely. That is likely to happen. Yep.
All right. So you were saying she did a good interview, and they went into some of the writing issues or anything.
Well, just her take on the character and the pressures of coming to it, and how she kind of the
toxic fandom.
What do you call it? The tension, the tension between wanting to know about the character's history, but also making it her own. So that push and pull was really interesting. So how she arrived at this character, which I think feels like a totally natural Doctor. It's a great evolution of the character, but she really kind of came to it herself.
I think she's good. I think she's good, and I think the cast is also good. Like as actors,
a lot of them though.
But I feel like what I complained about mostly last time was it was a series of really good moments that had no through line.
Yeah.
And like they just felt like small scenes, and you never really felt like there was a uniform story or something running through it. Maybe that gets fixed this season. But you just said what I was gonna complain about is there's too many people. I don't like in classic Doctor Who, and I certainly don't like in New Who when you have 3 different companions and the Doctor, because you never spend enough time, I feel like, with the 3, and they always bring a person that's relative to the story, so it's some scientist or it's some whoever that is going to work with them, and then so you even lose more time to develop anyone. So I feel like if they got rid of one of them, it would be good. You pick who.
Exact thing. Where you bring in another character for that one story, and then you follow them and you lose. Yeah, that definitely happens a lot in this series from what I've seen so far. But I will say there is a moment in maybe the 5th or so episode of this series. There's a great moment between Yaz and Ryan, and also Graham to some extent, and I think it really gelled the whole crew together in a way that I really appreciated, and feels like it should have happened very early in the previous season and just didn't. So it really feels like they're coming to it late, but I remembered you having said this, and I was like, oh, I think when you get to this, I think you might feel the same way. Like, oh, this really actually starts to feel like a cohesive whole, but it is very hard for them to get enough.
It's hard, and I feel like two is kind of great. I mean, you see that like Buffy, you've got Xander and Willow and Buffy, but then you get Cordelia and some of these other characters that aren't always there, but are around. And they did that with who is the guy from Little Britain whose name I'm blanking on, the guy that was in Doctor Who when
yes. And now
you didn't get him all of the time.
Yeah. Yep.
But just, you know what I mean? Like, you can have, like, sort of a, in quote, companion that it isn't part of the crew every episode to episode, but you bring him in, take him out. Like the Brigadier. The Brigadier wasn't always there, but he was someone you knew that you could get every once in a while. I feel like they got to move to that, because I don't know why they have so many people. It was like, let her just be the Doctor. I'd rather see more time with her bouncing off of 1 or 2 people than I would... This is going on. I don't know. Whatever. We're not here to talk about New Who, Dan. We're here to talk about.
That was Matt Lucas.
Matt Lucas.
I do like the way that Matt Lucas. And I just want to say real quick, last thing before I jump in, that he's now one of the co-presenters on the Great British Baking Show, as we call it in America.
Okay.
On Netflix. So that's great. You get to see him with Noel instead. I don't know if you watch that show. It is.
I do not.
The calming island. It is an island of calm for my psyche once a week, and it is wonderful. I highly recommend.
Yeah, and I
anyway,
think we all
let's
need
talk
that.
about.
So yeah, we're not here to talk, and we've already
other
angered
British
that one
things.
guy that said we're not supposed to ever talk about New Who. He signed up for Classic Who. He wants Classic Who. So here's some Classic Who right in your face. Hit that button, Dan.
Oh, there you are.
What happened?
Well, we both got caught in the time warp field and were projected into the future.
Into the future?
Yes. But only about 15 seconds.
But I haven't been anywhere. You vanished.
No. You vanished first. I only seem to have vanished because you went into the future, and I wasn't there yet.
Yes.
Yes. Richard, things seem to have packed up again. Still, we're on the right lines.
Okay, this is Jeopardy. No, this is the Ambassadors of Death, Dan. This is the third serial of the 7th season, lucky number 7. How is it only the 7th season? Feels like it should be later, that you get a Pertwee. I mean, it's Pertwee's first run, but we have already went through Hartnell and Troughton, and we only did 6 seasons? Seems
Right.
odd. Okay.
I feel the same.
Because there's 1,000 episodes. Like, there's 100,000 episodes. They're all 8 parts. How? Like, was a season 4 years? I don't know. So anyway, this is the Ambassadors of Death. As I said, this was broadcast in 7 parts. Way back in 1970. It was written by Trevor Ray, Terrence Dix. Although I guess Trevor Ray was uncredited. David Whitaker's the title card guy, but I had read that Terrence Dix did a bunch of writes on it, and I think Malcolm Hulke, whatever, also wrote on it. So it seems like this went through a few people. This was produced by Barry Letts. So what happened in this story? Well, that's an excellent question. It turns out there was a capsule that they had lost contact with, that they were sending a astronaut to see, and then a bunch of people got swapped out, and there was sounds, and there was lots of fighting and intrigue, and what'd you think?
Wow, that was the quickest one ever.
Well, I will say I completely even forgot we were supposed to record today, because I was building an animatronic, and I told Dan, I was like, let's do it at 10 a.m., let's record the podcast, and I think 10:30 I checked my phone, and Dan's like, what is going on? So I may not have written the description for this one.
It doesn't show. It doesn't show. That seemed really well prepared.
Yeah, I gotta stop announcing when I'm winging it, because I don't think people would be aware.
Yeah, no.
But what did happen? I mean, there's 7 parts. I feel like we covered it.
It was so much.
There's a lot.
First of all, I do want to mention that the writer David Whitaker also wrote the much better story "Enemy of the World," in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
anyway,
I agree with you on
throw that out there. So yeah, this was a just like so many stories of this era. It's a 7-parter that could have been a 4-parter.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
I agree with that. 100%.
But I think the beginning few episodes of this story were full of plot, full of really interesting ideas. A lot of the characterizations and the interactions with the characters were a lot of fun and back and forth. And then over the course of 7 parts, the story just kept getting weighed down and weighed down and weighed down. I gotta say from the top, I'm very lukewarm on this story. I like some parts of it. I think it had some good moments, but generally overall, it just... I was very excited after the first few, because I watched it over the course of 3 different days. So I watched a couple of parts in one day, a couple of parts another day, and so on. And after watching a few parts in the first day, I was like, oh, this is super fun. I mean, it's a long story, but if it's all like this, it's going to be great. And by the end, it just kind of didn't do anything for me. That aside, starting off with the Doctor, he's been exiled to Earth. He's there with Liz Shaw. I think we've only seen Liz Shaw 1 or 2 stories before this that we've reviewed.
We've done, probably.
We saw
about
the one where
2
she was
or
introduced.
3. We did the one immediately before this, which was the Silurians, right? Dr.
Silurians, right? Okay.
Silurians.
Yep, that's right.
We did the first one which
With
is
her.
Spearhead from Space. I think she's in that one. That's when we meet her, right?
Is she? Yes. Okay.
And then
Anyway,
we saw another one after that. We saw
yes,
East Berlin.
the Inferno.
That was the when we get to see
East
the
Berlin.
Nazi. Liz.
Totally right. I forgot.
So,
You're
I
right,
think you're right. I
Yeah,
think it's
'cause
about
more-
three of them we probably did before.
Yeah.
She's only, as far as I know, on 1 or 2 seasons, and then she's gone.
Yeah, she's
And I like her. She's
in
got
this.
that
I think-
big ass pocketbook. She's not afraid to use those boots. Cowboy hat occasionally. And
Yep.
cowboy hats I think was a thing because I feel like when Joe comes, I
Yes.
feel like she rocks a cowboy hat too. So that must have been the style at the time.
It's the 70s, man. Hats were big.
Yep. These boots were made for walking, Dan.
Big hats were big. I think Liz is a great companion. She's capable. She's smart. She's resourceful. She's independent for most of the story. She's in her own. She gets kidnapped later and is forced to assist in the machinations of the plot. So what could have gone with another companion in a damsel in distress direction wasn't. She was very much capable and trying to take care of herself and
even when she gets quote unquote kidnapped, she's at work. She's working it through, and she's plotting to how to get out on her own. So yeah, she's
good.
A great
So much
character
fun.
that I feel it's a little bit. A lot of a missed opportunity because there's many scenes. I was like trying to say something to one of my kids about the boots. I was like, look at those boots, and it took and I was like, watch. She's like, what are you talking about? And we had to wait like 7 or 8 minutes, even though she's in the scene. She doesn't have any lines. It's just cutting back and forth between the doctor and like a bunch of other people, and we're like waiting. Like eventually they're going to give her a line, right? And they didn't give her a line, but then you had a long shot and you could point out the boots. But I feel like there's lots of scenes where she's in where they're just writing, everyone else talking, and she's just supposed to be sitting there. Whatever.
Yeah, well, it's again another one of those things where there are a lot of characters, and they just keep adding on and adding on and adding on as they go. Of course, throughout this story, then they keep dying and dying and dying. There's a lot of fighting and death. A lot of
the second
gunplay.
episode is just a bloodbath of just people getting shot. Like when the army, maybe that's even the first episode, but they come in and they're just like a huge action scene.
Unit comes and they triangulated the signal. It's so much, and that scene goes on forever.
Too long. Yeah, there's a lot of scenes like that.
Very
that go on
long.
Too long.
So many, like to me, that scene, the fight scene, which we'll come to the
you mean when there's like they'll just start playing like weird jazz or like 28 minutes of flute music when they're driving the capsule back. Like you just watch them drive the capsule back to
There's
that.
So
like,
many of those. So we have the fight scene that's probably 3 times
it's
longer
like
than
Jethro
it needs
Tull
to be.
is rocking.
He's in the capsule. We got the lorry taking the capsule. That takes forever. We got the car chases, which are fine, but they're not very exciting, and they don't really go anywhere. We got the laundry truck that takes and dumps the bodies. That takes forever. There's just so many.
I did like the laundry truck
shots.
when they hit the thing, and again, it's like the spy thing, and it's this whole thing is very spy, espionage, double crossing, triple agent kind of thing. I like when they hit the button and the side of it changes to another company.
Let me just
change the license
note that
plate.
real quick. Yeah, so it was Haywood. Sorry. Hayho Laundry. Then it flips to what was the name of the person? So it's a reference to 2 different production assistants. Silcock Bakery. So the Hayho is the floor manager, and Silcock was a production assistant. 2 women. So anyway, it was just nice little Easter egg call outs. Leaving that all aside. Do we want to go through some of the plot?
Well, Dan, I will tell you what I thought of this thing.
No, I didn't want to hear your opinions.
You're just going to cut me off, Dan.
I don't want to hear your opinions. Okay, yes. Sorry
I felt the same way. I
okay, cool.
I thought I actually really liked it. Like, I liked especially the first 2 episodes. It's got like a Kubrick feel to the whole thing. Like, I really liked a lot of the choices they were making, the cross-cutting. I
wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like when they play the sounds, like when they're getting these weird sounds and they're just like cutting.
Yeah.
I felt like the lights were too bright in the studio at one point. Like there was the light must have been like 3 feet from the Brigadier's face because he was coming in hot. His forehead was brighting up the thing. I thought I mentioned Liz and her big ass pocketbook. I thought that was cool. There was one shot later on when they are I think they're getting ready to do a launch, and they show someone working at the desk, and I swear to God, she was like 12 years old. Like, it looked like Jodie Foster's Iris from Taxi Driver, like, working the board. Did you see that?
I wish she wasn't on the streets, man.
But yeah, I liked it. I felt like it went off the rails a little bit, or it just outran its content, and it just became stretched out a little bit. The plot itself was okay. I mean, the whole idea you want to talk about the whole
I want you to summarize the plot, because it did get, not that it was convoluted, because I don't think it was I don't think it was a complex plot. I think for me it was because it was stretched out over the course of seven parts that it just kind of like, all right, wait, what are they trying to do and why? So how did they meet?
All right, well, I will throw this out there and
do it.
Hope that I got it right. So there's Carrington, right? So he is the evil major general, whatever he is. He had been on a previous mission to Mars and had encountered these aliens, and one of his crew touched them, not realizing they're like radiation weapons. So they'll kill you instantly if you touch them. He's convinced that they're going to destroy the Earth, but he doesn't tell a lot of people this part, I guess. And his idea is he is going to make it look like they've attacked the United States, the world, not the United States. We're very North American focused.
Same thing.
Here, yeah. So he's going to make it look like they're a weapon. They're launching an invasion, so he could get the UN or whoever to okay his desire to go full on and destroy this alien. So he convinces them to send ambassadors down, and then he takes those ambassadors and uses it with his his men, and he convinces one of the guys that works for the British government that, I guess he doesn't give them all of the details of the plan, but just enough that they're going to use sort of the military in a way. It's weird. It's like having like a government that has like some kind of cover up going on. That seems very timely for like but yeah. So the guy from the English government sort of knows, but he doesn't know the complete plan. He doesn't realize that he's using these things as weapons, but he knows enough about wanting to get credit for this invasion. So that, I think, is the whole plan. So they kidnap these guys. They're going to have them run in and radiate people, and then they use like a remote control to control these people. By the way, somehow they knew that was going to work. Right. And then once he got okay, he would just invade. Now, he could have just came down and said, hey, these guys killed one of our crew, let's invade. And then maybe he would have got his yes then, instead of adding all this other stuff. But, that's where we're at. It's
so convoluted that so the general, I'm with you the whole way through. The general, previous mission, astronaut dies. Carrington. It seems like after that, then they create a new government agency, the Space Defense Force or something Space Force. Or other. Yeah, Space Force. The U.S. has now. It's amazing. So he has the Space Force. But then to go through, like you said, this plot machinations to, when did he talk to the aliens to get them to send the ambassador? When did that communication happen? I was a little
fuzzy on that, but I guess it happened somehow.
How? They didn't have any communication.
Maybe the first time. Yeah, it's very weird, because then they send up these 3. So he's the first mission to Mars, right? So then there's another mission to Mars. So maybe he went up to Mars, his person got killed, then he told them at that moment, they were like, oh, this was a mistake. And he was like, okay, well, then send us a delegation of 3 people, and we'll send you 3 people. We'll do a swap, and then we'll work this out. And they were like, okay. And then he went back home, and then he sent 3 people up, and then they got swapped. And they got swapped by not being told what was going on. So if it was some kind of negotiation, somehow they tricked them into a Matrix situation where they were hallucinating watching a soccer match on a TV, and they thought they were in whatever. And then he got home, and then he planned to take these astronauts back by sending another guy up, and then that guy. Yeah, I forgot about the other guy.
How did he communicate with the aliens to set up the ambassadors coming? it might make sense that they
maybe he did it
met each other
at
on Mars.
Right, that first time.
And then they set it up then. But he comes back, and then later he was this was a long time ago. Then he becomes a general. Then they create this space station. It wasn't like, okay, next we're this the plot's. It was years in the making.
And
there's no way
we
that
know
makes
there's
sense.
at least a 6-month period. Is it 6 months? I think they say since these 3 astronauts left Mars. Right?
6
I mean, in
months?
the beginning of the part 1, they're sending a
recall
single astronaut to find because
them,
they have
yeah.
no communication. And I believe they say they were alive when they left Mars, and that was like 6 months ago. Because it probably would take
saying
a
that
long
long,
time
but
to go
okay,
from
sure.
Mars to this.
Well, apparently not,
The story
'cause they keep
takes
sending
place in
rockets
modern
up and
time,
it's-
right? In quotes, this is 1970s.
Sure.
So I think
Yes.
that's probably right. I don't know.
But they send up the doctor, and he's there in like 2 minutes. I know he's not in 2 minutes. It's the story's time.
Well,
And maybe it took hours.
Yeah, but
like,
he's not at Mars in 2 minutes. He's at the ship in 2 minutes, which is outside of Earth's orbit. Right? So
But
this
that
is
ship
what
went
happened.
up
So
to dock with the ship that they were. So they weren't actually. They didn't make it to Mars. They were.
That they made
on
it to
the way
Mars, right? They make it to
and they
Mars.
didn't make it back.
And then they're leaving Mars
know
to
how
go
this-
to Earth. During that travel from Mars to Earth, they lose communication with the thing. And then it arrives,
Okay.
but it can't land.
Oh.
They can't talk to it. It's just
Okay.
floating around Earth's
Okay.
atmosphere. And they
Okay, I'm
send
an
up a
idiot.
single guy to
Thank
say
you.
what's up. And
Yep.
that's where the doctor
Yep.
goes.
Yep.
Ugh, and
I'm a big dummy.
talk about time. Even just to get the doctor up there takes a half hour, and they're like, the doctor's bored, and he's like, "Hey, how long is it gonna take, man?" And they're like, T minus 30 minutes or whatever.
Right.
Like
right.
even that
Well, no,
takes
that was
a long time.
right. Just to even get off the launch.
They keep
pad.
talking
Yeah.
about sending the doctor back or into space. He's like, "I'm a pilot, man." And that's like 2 or 3 episodes before he actually goes. And you
Yeah.
keep thinking
Yeah.
it's going to happen, and it just does not happen.
No.
I will say this. I'm complaining about time. I watch this in a way that you're not supposed to watch it. You're not supposed to watch it the way I did, which was 2 episodes one night, 5 episodes yesterday. Like, no one should... They're not designed to watch the way... to binge them. So, yeah.
Well, that's the way we watch all of these.
Felt like really tedious by the end. Like, oh, God, just get on with it already.
Well, okay, yes, I agree with that. Like, these were aired weekly, and that's how they were constructed, and that's how they were originally consumed. But, then they came out on VHS and DVD and whatever, and people watched them and still, love them at that point. I can't imagine watching stories like these week to week and feeling really invested in them, even with the cliffhangers that they have, which are pretty good. They're fine cliffhangers. It's not as though, oh my God, I can't wait to next week to find out what happens. Like,
yeah, but it was a different time. I mean, everyone's just like popping Quaaludes. I'm sure it was like, why not? Speaking of popping Quaaludes, I really like the anti-theft button on Bessie.
Oh my!
That sticks.
Oh my.
It felt very Batman 66. Like it was like it literally says in big letters, anti-theft device. That was just came out. Felt like it was out of nowhere. And we've been in Bessie, and I don't ever remember seeing a giant button that says anti-theft device. It's always been there.
Can I just tell? No. Can I just tell you that anti-theft device Forgefield? He's feeling like that era's can't be Batman. Those are my notes. So I actually said the exact same thing. That's
like,
ridiculous. I said it was. I also shark repellent. I said feels too much like shark repellent.
We should do a podcast together, Dan.
We should do a podcast together. Ridiculous. Yes. So there's that. There's a few things that the Doctor does that are like, okay. So there's the magic trick he does, which isn't a magic trick. He can make
I'm glad you brought that up.
Disappear from one hand to the other. And he's just like, oh no, it's transmigration of object.
Yeah, he can do that now. He's like, and he's like, before we were just popping. So I guess we should start at the beginning. At the very beginning, the Doctor. This is Pertwee. From what I remember, the Time Lords have punished him, so he has forgotten a lot of stuff. So he has it in his memory, but he can't really always recall it. He doesn't know how to fly the TARDIS, and he's trying to figure it out, right? Or there's a piece missing. I can't. In any case,
Whatever.
he can't leave. So it opens with him, and several of these open with him trying to fix the console of the TARDIS.
Note
to remind
real
you,
quick.
It's broken.
Note real quick. This is the first time we're seeing the TARDIS outside the control panel outside of the TARDIS.
It is.
This is the first time that we actually see that. I didn't know. It's not the first time we see it. You and I. It's the first time it's seen in the story and in color apparently. Which is pretty cool. So yes, but it did feel strange to have
yeah.
like
So
the full
so they
TARDIS
show
control panel there.
like the popping into the future, and I guess just to remind
Which
the
doesn't make
audience
sense.
that he's a time traveler, but he doesn't time travel anymore.
It doesn't make sense though what he explains when they go 15 seconds. In the
No,
future.
it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then later, to Dan's point, they run into the guy with was it a fake beard? Tatalian, I think is his name. It looked
never said it
kind of
was
fake.
fake.
Maybe it was real. Whatever. In the story, it's supposed to be real, but I was looking at it, I was like, is that
don't know.
glued on his face? And he draws a gun on the Doctor, right? I think this is the time that it happened.
Yep.
And then the Doctor makes something disappear and then reappear.
Yeah, so it was the recordings that he had.
Yeah, he needed
the
something,
sound.
and he just
boom, boom. It goes
he
out.
can do that. The Doctor can,
He can just do that.
make things disappear, and it's no big deal.
I guess that happens throughout a bunch of different stories. Like there's just this one-off that he can just do that. There's the one that I remember of. What was it? Was it McCoy? Was it McCoy that could do the like hypnosis with his eyes?
Who's this?
In one of the stories when he's at Buckingham Palace, he does that thing.
Yeah, I remember them
now
doing hypnosis before. I think a few doctors have done some.
Well, but
version
they've
of that.
done
The
it with,
Master
like-
does that.
Yeah, but they don't with like a watch or whatever. This is a more like a mental telepathy type. I don't know, but they do that every once in a while. And in New Who, they're really leaning on the Doctor being able to like share thoughts in a Vulcan mind meld sort of way,
Really?
which is like okay. Yeah. But at least they're being consistent with it, and now it's like it's an established thing. This thing where you could just this transmigration of object where you could just make things disappear and reappear. It's just a one-off here, and I don't think it ever comes up again. It's a really cool ability that probably would come in useful
I
in a
don't
lot of
ever
places.
remember seeing that before
It's super
or
strange,
after.
though.
Speaking
Yeah.
of consistency,
So
I
it's
felt
just
bad for the other Jeep. So when Unit is driving, they show a couple of Jeeps, and only one has a giant tire on the front, and the others don't. So like, what happens if that guy breaks down? Does he have to like? He's got to just sit there. Like the Brigadier gets his big old tire in the front. Speaking of the
this is what
Brigadier, can we talk about the Brigadier as a soldier?
No. I'd
He's
rather talk
not
about the tire
great.
a little bit more. Can we talk about the tire?
We could talk more
Wait,
about
what?
the tire. But the Brigadier is not good in some parts, and then other parts he's like a master marksman. So there's a scene in the first episode, I think, or the second episode, where they've triangulated the signal, this the weird communication, and that's how they figure out.
It's the
that
first
aliens.
episode.
They arrive at the place. He's got the guy dead to rights with his gun. The guy's got his gun drawn. It's a standoff. I'll kill you, you kill me. But then, his boy's there with some kind of like thing on a
Winch
chain,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
And the Brigadier's like, now! And he throws it, and then you think, okay, now the Brigadier's got the advantage. No, he somehow, after that situation, loses his gun.
Yeah.
He loses his gun, and then the guy's going to kill the Brigadier. How do you go from a standoff to an advantage to you're going to get killed, and you only get by because this guy spares his life, and yet later on the Brigadier shoots the gun out of someone's hand. When
Just
he comes down
shoots
the
him in
stairs.
the wrist.
He shoots
and the
it,
guy
and the
doesn't even
guy's
have like a reaction.
it's like no blood or whatever.
It's like
It's
ow.
fine.
And he has like a witty comeback, like welcome
What was the
to
point of
how-
that whole thing? Like now,
but-
and he throws it, and then the Brigadier loses his gun and advantage.
If he had said nothing, the guy would have gotten knocked out. It would have
He
been fine.
should have threw
but
the
no, he
tire
screwed
at
up.
him. That's why they have that one tire.
That's what we needed.
They should have
But then you
rolled
have those moments. So like you said, the Brigadier has a cracked shot and can shoot the guy in the wrist. He also gets put under arrest by the crazy general and takes out two guys with a boom, 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 knocks them out and grabs the Jeep and has no problem there. So he's like a super soldier there. Yeah, it is a little inconsistent, but I mean,
it's fine. I always like him though.
It's fine.
What do you think of
he's
Pertwee
great.
though? Because this would be Pertwee's fourth story, I think, because this is his first season, so it's the second to last one. So he would have done at least Doctor Who and the Silurians and Spearhead from Space. It's interesting to see like that character develop. It's very. I don't know if he does any fighting in this, right? Does he do any judo chops? I can't
Not
remember,
that
but
I recall, honestly, no.
it's
no,
like-
it's more of the mental side of it.
I can see sort of like the Hartnell, like hard to get along with part of him, and then sort of there's something extremely charming about John Pertwee that I like, and I like him as a doctor. But I feel like this episode, you really saw the balance of those two, and kind of shifting towards the more likable one. Like when he first meets Cornish, this guy named Cornish, that's the good guy, the good scientist. They sort of hate each other, and the doctor's sort of like kind of a jerk to him. Like he comes in, he's yelling at everyone, I don't need papers for this, and this guy's a moron, brigadier, and the brigadier's like, you should be nice to him. And the guy is a little stuffy or whatever, and then they grow in each other. But it's interesting to see like that cranky doctor that becomes sort of the guy that's kind of winking at you also, and I don't know. What do you like him? And I forgot about the cape. Like I don't remember when he loses that cape, but he's got that black cape on that he had in
right, the little opera cape
in Spearhead.
Yeah, I think it is definitely like you can see the evolution of the character, like you said. He's not so much some of the goofball sort of like mugging to the camera stuff that he does
when he
later, which
fights
I enjoy very much. That's exactly the shot I'm thinking of. That's exactly it. But so some of that, and he isn't doing the action hero stuff quite so much as he will later. So it feels like a character in transition, or finding itself. But I like it. I think he's great. I think his interactions with the Brig and with Liz are fun. So yeah, I mean, he's Pertwee. He's terrific.
Yeah, it's good, and I like
it just gets better.
I like Liz and him together. I feel like they have a good chemistry. It's a shame that she doesn't stay on. But I want to talk about something else in the the cast that is in the main room with Cornish. The woman that does the countdown. Mm-hmm. That's like the blonde woman that's facing first and saying her thing. I think she's just doing whatever. Did she look bored out of her mind to you, or was that just me? Every time they cut to her, she just looked like she didn't even want to be there. I don't know if she was mad at her agent, like she wanted some other show and she got stuck on this dumpy sci-fi show. That's the way I read it. I don't know if she the countdown woman came across that way to you. Now the child that we saw before, she looked totally happy to be at just be involved.
I mean, it didn't jump out at me, but yeah, sure. I mean, for me though, with the countdown stuff, it was just another one of these things where those sequences go on forever.
Yeah.
So it's the refueling sequence, and how much have they filled it yet, and when it's just these scenes just go on, and it's pseudo technical, space jargon, but it doesn't really. I don't know. They just went way too long.
We got a lot of locations in this one. We really had you've got the spot where they're keeping the prisoners and jacking them up on radiation and isotopes or whatever. You've got the main place with Cornish where they're communicating and shooting rockets up and down. You've got exterior stuff. You've got that abandoned warehouse shootout.
Stuff, yeah.
You've got the gravel dump rock area where they bury the guys because they died of radiation. Yeah, so you get to see all of that. You get space stuff. You get the spaceship, the alien spaceship, where the aliens behind Venetian blinds. Now, if they had come from Venus,
that one
couldn't they have come from Venus behind the Venetian blinds?
Would be great.
I feel like that would have been a
Those would have been Venusian blinds.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But we also had... So I want to come back to the alien behind the Venetian blinds. But also we had the exterior shots of... I guess it was probably like a chemical refinery or oil refinery or something. But that was supposed to be the exterior where they can pump in whatever gases they need for the decontamination and whatever. Yeah. But there was several times where that was the point of failure where two different sabotage attempts took place. Yeah. One when someone knew how to go and karate chop the two guards that happened to be guarding the entire place, know which exact things to twist in order to screw up the fuel ratio, which causes the ship to go too fast and the doctor to
the doctor's face when the G-forces. That was ridiculous.
That was fun. I tweeted that picture out because it made me very happy.
That's how I felt.
So there was that, and then watching. Then the second attempt when he goes and takes a plastic tube and just connects it to a lug nut because apparently that'll work, and that puts in whatever gas to knock out the doctor. But it was just like those. I don't know. Those sequences I just felt were so silly.
Speaking of sequences that are useless, but they're just there.
Yes.
So you have Liz goes through this whole thing with the scientist to try to do her escape, which is nice because
Yes.
at least establishes the scientist is redeemable. So you get that, but she literally leaves, escapes, runs down the street, and immediately gets in the car with Tattaglia.
Right.
And then is right
Who
back.
just found her immediately.
It's
Like
a
that was
perfect luck
silly.
that he's driving at the moment that she's out. But it was like, so they did all that
On that road.
and
Yeah.
nothing came of it, other than I guess just to establish that this scientist is looking
He's a
for
baddie. But we
redemption.
knew that he was a baddie.
No, not that scientist. I mean the scientist that helps her escape. So there's a scientist that
Oh,
is like,
yes,
whether or
I'm
not
sorry,
you're
you're
a
right.
prisoner, I'm free to go, but we're free to
Lennox.
go because I'm disgraced. So he,
Right.
you know, he gave her the key. So that was, yeah, that other scientist that like, the fact that he pulls a gun on the doctor, and then later they're still kind of cool with him, but it's like, I don't know if you should, you know. But he was.
But then he got blown up by a briefcase,
and
which
then he
was
got
kinda
blown
great.
up by a briefcase, and that's when I wanted the doctor to be like, Tattaglia was a pimp. He never could have outfought Santino. You know what I'm talking about? The Godfather, where he's talking. Sure. I never knew until now that it was Carrington the whole time, guys. No, not a Godfather fan, Dan. All right, just end this podcast. The podcast is over.
No, I just want to talk about Dune instead. So,
yes, the weird jazz was good.
Anyway,
music was good. Music was interesting, and at times dreamy. Like there was like a dreamy element to it that I enjoyed.
I did have a problem with the special effects in most cases in this story.
I'm trying to think of any of them. The lasers, like the when you get killed.
Those were fine. For me, it was the space thing. So you see, I think it's when the Doctor is launched and you see the rocket go up. It is the worst looking thing. We have this miniature that's shot in front, and there's like video behind it. I guess it was on like on a chroma key screen behind it, but what was behind it didn't look like anything real. It just looked like static or something. And the rocket just looks super fake, and the fire flying out of it just looked dumb. It would have been just better had they used stock footage instead in that case. Some other miniatures just didn't work for me at all. Like you see the space capsules in space coming in to dock with each other. It feels like even in earlier Who, like in previous years, those were even better. Maybe it's the fact that it's in color and maybe it's shot on different stock or something, but just didn't feel as good as or as convincing as some miniatures did even in older stories. It just didn't work for me. I thought it was interesting. So the Doctor goes up. Some huge red disc comes flying through space. They think they collided and the Doctor's capsules exploded, but no, it actually kind of scooped him up, and he's in what looks like either a trachea or a sphincter. His ship is inside. It looks really, really strange. And then he gets another special effect that's horrible. Like, that's fine. It's interesting. At least it's something totally different than we've seen before. The Doctor gets out of the capsule, takes a step, and then just floats down to the ground.
Yeah.
And it's just the worst. It looks
so bad. That was very, very
bad. And then you see the creature. He goes in and he sees the crew members. I thought it was actually interesting. The crew members that are there, and they have this mind control, so I think they're just been in quarantine for a few hours. And really, it's been whoever knows how long, days at least, months maybe. They're sitting there watching a soccer match. And then you see the screen come up, and there's the creature. And it does look like, it looks like an 80s video. And I couldn't find, I need to find exactly what it was. There's a specific video about magic. And there's Venetian blinds, and it's the exact same colors. It's not the cars. I went searching for it, but I couldn't find anything. Anyway.
Wait, it's about
not
magic?
Important. Yeah. One of the lyrics is, I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Unimportant.
It's like Steve
Strange
Miller
thing to
Band?
do, though. But it was
Is it
absolutely
Abracadabra by
Venetian
Steve
blind.
Miller Band?
Maybe.
Could be.
I'll go find. I'll see if that's it.
Yeah.
Totally irrelevant to any of this. I just wanted to get to the point that we have a creature behind Venetian blinds with really bad video effects over it, and the actor that's portraying this creature is just doing interpretive dance the entire time. His hands just keep, I'm assuming but their hands keep moving around and as he talks, and it just looked completely ridiculous. But it was an interesting kind of plot point. that the Doctor's able to talk to this guy and say, we'll get your ambassadors back, and was able to, again, use his brains instead of being, a judo master to handle the story, which is great. That's it. That's all I have to say. Yeah, my feet hurt too. What?
Yeah. Do we have anything else about this? I feel like we covered a lot of it. I know we got some feedback, but did you have anything else, Deanne? I feel like it was. It also for a story that was so long, the ending felt very abrupt.
Oh yes,
didn't it?
Talk about
like
the
all of a
ending,
sudden it was just like,
you're right.
You guys just figure it out. We're gone. Like I was very surprised when it did end.
Yeah. It just, but he didn't even say you guys take care of this. It was just walks off the set. Like I think Pertwee just decided to walk off the
it was
set.
like,
He's
we're done.
I'm done.
We are done.
I've hit my
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like it was very average. It was nowhere near as good as Spearhead from Space. I liked, from what I remember, the Silurians a lot more. And what comes after this? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I can see right now.
But I don't know if we
did.
did.
One is Inferno.
Oh, Inferno. Inferno was
I
way
liked
better.
Inferno a lot.
So this is definitely
Inferno.
the weakest of this first season. Oh, so
would agree
we
with that.
saw his entire first season. Good for us.
We did it, guys. And we don't remember any of it.
Did it.
Which is great.
I don't know. What did
I'm sorry.
unless you have anything else? Do you have anything else you want to?
No, I was just going to load up the video for Abracadabra to make sure that was it. We got so.
I have no idea. I can't remember the video for Abracadabra. I just know it is a magic-based song from the 80s.
Feel free to cut all of that bullshit out. It had nothing to do with anything.
It's all fine.
Okay,
that's our bread and butter, Dan. the useless bullshit is ours.
Okay, sorry. I need to filter these notifications because now I.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, I would just like to say, wear a mask. No, that's not what I wanted to say. I wanted to say I would like to thank listener Christopher Calloway. I'm sorry. I never know if you're supposed to say people's names or not, but the fact that he has a podcast called Creator Talks podcast, I feel like makes him a public person, so I'm allowed to say his first and last name. But he sent us a very nice letter to our P.O. Box 2131, Red Bank, New Jersey 07701, requesting stickers. Included a nice piece of a handwritten letter congratulating us on our 100th episode and a membership card in the Doctor Who US fan club. So now we are official members, Dan, of the Doctor Who fan club for the United States of America. It's an honor. There's only one card. Which of us will get it? I don't know. It's at my house. You probably will never see it. And maybe we can share custody every other weekend or something. We can meet in a post office and exchange the card back and forth.
I think you should just keep it. Whenever I need it, I'll dress up as you.
Oh, that works.
I'll take the card. I think it's fine.
That's our plan anyway.
That was very nice. So thank you very much for the lovely letter.
And if you don't,
card. That was great.
You certainly don't have to send us cards, although those are great. But if you just want those stickers, we still have some. So send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and I will send you a sticker.
Awesome.
Cool.
So beyond that, we also got a bunch of response on Twitter. That's at TODW Show on the Twitters. Asking what you folks thought about this story.
What did people think? Is this considered a high mark or a low mark? I don't know where people fall with it.
I didn't look to go see Doctor Who magazine or something, like one of those rankings. You can take a look if you want to. I'm going to guess it's somewhere right in the middle. But it seemed like from the people that responded on Twitter that it's a pretty well-liked story. More pro than con, and the cons are pretty much just kind of neutral, more so than negative. So Paul Paranoid says, so I just tweeted this out asking for your feedback, and I just couldn't let the hey-ho go, so I had to put that as the shot for it. So it's like the old Doctor Who show van, says Paul Paranoid. Jeff Waddle says, I like it, but only because it's so different. Yes, as usual, you could knock a couple of episodes off. Agreed. You could knock 3 episodes off.
I think 100%. And they, back then they have so many episodes to fill, and I guess they didn't have the money to just... If you would cut 2 episodes off, let's say, and then did a 2-parter. Give us a new 2-parter. But I guess budgets,
what I'm saying.
Whatever, it's fine.
They went over budget on this one because of all the car chases and etc.
Did they really?
Helicopter chase as well, where they're throwing out smoke bombs.
There is the helicopter.
There's a helicopter chase. There's a lot of chase scenes that happen. So yeah, they went over budget, and the supporting cast is huge as well, like unnamed, uncredited unit soldiers and whatever. So it was a pretty big cast. I can see why. But Jeff goes on to say, could knock a couple episodes off, but Pertwee and Liz are good together. I even like the abrupt ending where Pertwee says, "Not my problem," and just goes back to his cheese board and wine. In fact, if he had gone to a cheese board and wine, I would have liked that better.
Yeah, that would have
been more like really put a button on that one. The Doctor Who show, not to be confused with the old Doctor Who show, says originally saw it in black and white, which added massively to the spookiness of the earlier episodes, and particularly as a result, I think I've always overlooked. I'm going to start this one again because my words aren't working.
You got a hard time there.
The Doctor Who show says originally saw it in black and white, which added massively to the spookiness of the earlier episodes particularly, and as a result, I think I've always looked at it in a way that people who've only ever seen it, the colorized version, don't. Ditto for the Damons too. I think this would have benefited from being in black and white as well. I don't know, something about the effects, there's something about them just didn't feel right, but maybe it also made it
yeah, I mean, I think that works. I liked the design of the space suits, with the helmets and everything. And like, if it wasn't in tan, but it was a black and white view of them, it probably would look a lot better than that khaki
and also,
or whatever.
The alien astronauts that come back and their faces are covered, so you can't see them through the mask and all. That was actually really cool too. It might have been even more interesting if you couldn't quite make it out because it was in black and white.
Yeah. So just set your TV to black and white next time you watch it.
I should just do that. John Seymour says, not the best Pertz story, but good fun. Not sure the plot makes any kind of sense though. Well, as evidence about Eric and I going back and forth about trying to figure out what the plot actually was, kind of agree there. Goes on to say the aliens are spooky. Cyril Shaps gets the second of his 3 Doctor Who deaths. Not sure who that actor is, but that's cool.
Yeah, okay.
And the magic van is fun. But where is Tatalian meant to be from exactly? France, Germany, Alabama, Chiswick?
At first, I thought that he was supposed to be like a German scientist or something, but then I wasn't 100% sure at that.
I don't think he had conviction to really. Yeah, he couldn't carry the accent through. He just wanted to give us a flavor of it.
Now, why was he killed? Why was he killed? I mean,
loose ends.
Loose ends, but he doesn't kill other people.
I don't think they trusted him. They didn't trust him. He was kind of they just didn't trust him.
Like he keeps Liz on. Whatever, it's fine.
I mean, it was cool that they gave him the briefcase to go kill the Doctor, and it's going to be 15 minutes to set it, and then when he turns his back, they switch the timer to with like an instant. Which I
love that too. I love the fact that it's like an explosive device designed to kill 2 people. It goes off, and then the Doctor's able to read the 0. Like he's able to still see that piece that enough of it's left that he could just eyeball and be like, "Oh, this was set to 0, so therefore he was."
Yep.
And how did the Doctor survive that? Not sure.
He had like a bandage on his cheek, and that was it. And I wonder if that's like Pertwee vanity. And it's just like, that's enough. I don't need to be all bloodied up.
A lot of people don't know that Nellie was a really big Pertwee fan. That's actually where the Band-Aid thing came from.
Wow, that took a while to get there. And
I know, because I couldn't remember his name. I had to look up Hot in Here to figure out that it was Nellie.
Hot in Her?
Yeah, let's cut
Okay, next, Simon Hart. Simon Hart just moved right past it. Simon Hart says, Liz in a magnificent hat. There you go.
Yeah, the big old cowboy hat. And then boots.
Cyril Shaps as a very nervous scientist. So, wait, was that Cornish? Or
no, I think that was the good science, quote unquote, the disgraced scientist that goes good. I'm assuming that's...
Gotcha. Lennox? Yes, it was Lennox. You're right. Okay, so that was Lennox. Cool. A huge conspiracy, some great fights, brilliant direction. It's all rather cool. Regan is a very underrated sadistic villain that never gets enough credit. It's long but enjoyable. You know what? We actually didn't even talk about
We did the bad guy, or
the
one
hoodlum,
of the bad guys.
except that he got shot in the wrist. Very,
he was good,
sociopathic in his portrayal. Just like cool, didn't care about the deaths.
No, I liked him.
Definitely had something going, and was kind of suave at the same time.
Yeah. He was like in the mold of like a Bond villain kind of thing. I
Very
thought
much so.
He could have. He's a
but he
pretty
wasn't
good actor.
even like. He wasn't like the main villain in any way either. He was definitely supporting. He was just supporting the general in all of this.
Right.
You seemed like he could have probably.
He'll go
wanted
either
to
way.
take over or
He'll
something.
go where the money is. He's very cold and calculating and sociopathic.
He's a cool character. You're right. Thank you for pointing us back to that, Simon. That's great.
Good job.
City of Jeff says the most season 70s story in season 7. I'm not sure what that means.
The most 70s story of season 7?
The most season 70s story in season 7. So this is like the epitome of season 7. But I think like maybe, but I mean like Inferno is a better story in my opinion. And kind of, it doesn't matter.
Spearhead
great
from
opinion.
Space is a better story. That's
Sure.
a great story.
Sure.
I don't. I honestly, maybe I don't understand necessarily what that means.
City of Jeff, write us back and let us know what we meant.
City of Jeff
goes on to say, great music, amazing atmosphere and places, hard sci-fi in a very Who way. Plus that scene where the Doctor comes round and he is reunified with Liz makes even my cold heart melt. Love it. That's true whenever the Doctor's captured after being gassed and they're reunited in that bunker.
Yeah.
And he's like sees Liz and instantly is like, I'm feeling much better now. That was a nice little moment. I love it. City Jeff also says, "Hey ho, let's go," in response to the van, which is nice. Okay, Connor Atkins says, "My 12th favorite Doctor Who story."
Wow.
I mean, damning it with faint praise, but okay, that's cool. Simon came back and said again, the music is really great. Dudley playing it cool. Okay. Devo Hawkins says, I can't get it even from a torrent. Hard to find, I guess, to find this story. BritBox US.
That's where we watched it.
I think they also have like 7-day trial, so if you wanted to just give it a shot and see if you like it, we have been enjoying it that way, which is great. So much easier than trying to find it all across the internets. Matthew says, it's good, but a tad overrated, and the music is amazing.
Yeah, I thought they.
So this is several people,
agree with
including you,
them.
saying about the music. I mean, I liked it. It didn't really jump out at me as being anything.
It was
stellar,
different.
but
It didn't feel like the typical music that you would get in these. Like there was interesting choices made. Like the flute part was like okay, and then it had like a very kind of dreamy quality towards the end. So
I will say it was an interesting choice for them to use the Yakety Sax Benny Hill song when Liz was being chased.
Yeah,
and why she was wearing a bikini top, I don't know. But otherwise, the music was good. Hair of the Hound does say the ambassador's twang of death. I'm not going to do the sound of ambassador's wang of death is one of my favorites of this season.
Really,
guys, our audio effects are par excellence here. Fun fact: the Hey Ho Launderers sign on Regan's van comes from the brilliantly named production manager Margot Hey Ho. Who worked with the Five Doctors. P.S. Check out Adrian Salmon's Doctor Who magazine illustration below, which is actually a really... I'm going to retweet this right now so you folks can see that. It is a really cool comic illustration panel of one of the alien astronauts with his hands glowing with radiation hovering over the Doctor and the brig in the background with a gun. It is a really cool illustration, so check that out. John Porter says, a bit long but thoroughly enjoyable with some excellent sequences. Yeah,
sure.
Cool. World Enough in Time podcast says, not my thing. Some good set pieces, but way too long. 1,000% on that one. This is the... Doctor Who Solitaire Story... Doctor Who Solitaire Story Game.
Okay.
That's at DWSSGO101. Says great baking from Margot on that one in reference to the van. Curse of Cedric. That's funny. Says it's superb, great story, great cast, great direction, great musical score, and Liz Shaw is on top form. You can keep your Inferno. Ambassadors is where it's at. Hot take, no way. Inferno is much better than this story, in our opinions.
Hey,
But that's
do
cool.
we
Thank
know,
you, Cedric.
speaking, Liz Shaw, did she have life after Who in, like, Big Finish stories, or does she...
No, they killed her after this. They literally killed her.
She gets killed?
No, I don't know.
Oh,
I'm
no.
not the actress.
Yeah, I think she
No,
leaves, or she goes off into unit, or she gets transferred or something, but I'm wondering, because I really like her, and it seems like a lot of people do like Liz Shaw, like, did she live on in novelizations
Yes.
or comics or...
So...
Big Finish.
Yes, she does the 4 stories in season 7. She does the 5 Doctors. She's in something called Probe, which I don't know what that is. PROBE is an acronym. Then she does a whole bunch of audio stories, Companion Chronicles, Short Trips, Third Doctor Adventures, and then the character appears in a lot of novelizations and stories and comics as well. So
there you go.
That's good. I'm glad you asked that, because you're right. It is a great character. I'm glad that she had a life that continues on in the canon, if not on the show. It's pretty cool. Let's see. Rusty Wolf 9 says, the overlooked story of season 7, but it's my favorite of that season by a country mile.
Oh, all right. Well,
more twists than a twisty thing.
There are a lot of twists.
The Liz chase sequence and battle in the warehouse are reason enough to love it.
Well, the battle
can have
in
opinions.
the warehouse is very epic. Like, I was not expecting the amount of violence and shooting and punching. Like, there's hand-to-hand combat. Like, they went all out. So it felt like a little
It was
too
funny
much.
though. The baddie that's sent out there. So you have the 2 radio operators that are sending the signal. They send the one guy out to try to delay unit, and they say, try not to hurt anyone. Don't kill anyone unless you have to.
Yeah.
And as soon as he sees someone, it's shoot to kill. It was like the first thing he did. I thought it was hilarious.
Yep.
And then Paul Paranoid says, I don't have fond memories of this one. It feels like Doctor Who is too closely aping its parent Quatermass or Gary Anderson's UFO. I'm not familiar with either of those, but okay. The unit era finds its voice around the end of season 7 with Inferno, consolidating through season 8 with the introduction of Katie Manning and Delgado. I could be on board with that as well. So that's pretty cool. And then I did also tweet out that picture of the Doctor going up in the capsule with his face all blue and the G-forces.
Yeah.
To which Time Lord Victory Bus, great name, says, how does Pertwee look like Eddie Izzard in this picture? And you know what? Kind of. Looks like a Smurf Eddie Izzard, which is kind of fun. Anyway, so that's a lot of feedback. Thank you, folks. It looks like we have a range of opinions on this, but generally people enjoyed this story a lot. You're all wrong. Inferno is a better story, but that's fine. Have your own podcast and tell us why we're different. If you'd like to reply, you can send us tweets at TODW Show on Twitter. Check out on Wednesday. I guess that's today if you're hearing this, or yesterday if you're listening to it in the past, or even further time.
Yeah,
It's
we
neat.
don't know where they are.
Check out the tweet. Check out the GIFs that we'll be posting for this. You can also check those out on Instagram, also at TODW Show. If you want to send us email, you can do that at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com.
That's right.
And as always, go to our website, theolddoctorwhoshow.com, to our episode pages. You can see all the previous stories that we've done. You can listen to audio directly on the site. Check out all the GIFs, including the ones that we've put on Twitter and the ones that we haven't, because there's always a lot more. So check those out. At this point, we have 101 episodes for you to listen to.
God.
So
We're
if you need something to occupy your time,
now it's like
anyone
we're a real boy.
Anyone needs a little distraction or something to drive them crazy, we got you covered there, so you can check those things out.
Yeah, and I believe you had said it's possible maybe they can't listen to the first episode. Like it only goes.
Yeah, our podcast feed, depending on the feed reader that you're using, may not carry more than 100 episodes in it. So now that we're at 101, we might start dropping some of those first
you don't
ones
want to
off.
listen to
They're
us
always
review
available
the
on the site.
Aztecs. Let's be honest.
Go back.
I never want to listen
wanna
to the
watch
first
it,
episode.
If you want to listen to it, go back. If you want to see how it all began, it's always on the website. So you can just go there
100%.
to the show page and listen to it right there. So check it out there. Otherwise, Eric, is there anything else that we want to talk about? Or can we just get out of this?
I think we're done, Dan.
Oh.
Did you already mention that what we're doing next? Because this
I
is Pertwee,
didn't.
so we're going to move on to Tom Baker. So we're doing Megalos. Meglos? M-E-G-L-O-S. Megals. We're doing Megals, the dancing clown, next.
Cool.
Meglos. Meglos? We don't know, but it's a Romana 2 story, I believe.
I can't wait to find out how they pronounce it. And Romana 2. So good. I'm very excited about that.
But I mean,
cool.
I'm OG Romana. We know this. We know this.
I know. We have talked about this.
Tam forever. What happened?
I can't finish that. All right. I'm leaving now.
All right, yeah. And on that note, take the red pill. Suicide. Yeah, I can't even say take the red pill because it probably means some kind of like weird right-wing bullshit. And like all of a sudden the Proud Boys just got activated because I said
this has nothing to do with the show. But can I just tell you that on Twitter right now, my favorite thing is happening. Gay Twitter has taken over the hashtag Proud Boys hashtag, and it's just dudes kissing, and it makes me so happy. Thank you for Gay Twitter co-opting the K-pop stands tactic. It's terrific. Anyway, that made me happy today. Anyway, thank you all for listening. All right. We'll talk to you in 3 weeks.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Where's my robot, you know?